think it's primarily three things that we look for in terms of Mindshare values. One is sheer curiosity and inquisitiveness, because otherwise you never learn, you never get to do things differently than what you've been doing before. So that's a very important spirit I find here. We just had a morning purple hour, which is like a town hall where I was questioned. I was asked to explain what Mindshare stands for, what do we plan to do, the challenges ahead. And I think the important part is the several employees, my colleagues out here, did pose some dramatic questions, most of which I had answers, some I do not have answers, and I'm on an exploration stage. And I think that's a great trait. The second one is collaboration. How do people work as a team? And I think from what I've seen so far, Tunis office has got a great exemplary way of working. That's a right spirit in Mindshare. And the third thing is simply innovations that we bring along. And Tunisia ranks the highest in this part of the world for having won the Festival of Media Global for our largest client, Tunisia Telecom. What more can you ask for? I'm very proud to see the Mindshare Tunis office. In fact, most of the Europe team members, for example, we come under EMEA all this while, which is Europe, Middle East, Africa. People club everything together as Middle East Africa as one big homogeneous market, and they think they don't know what's going on. But fortunately for me, I've worked in this region several years, for almost 16 years, both in Saudi Arabia and in Dubai for a long time. And I have traveled much of the markets except Tunis, but I think there are big similarities as well as dissimilarities that you find. The interesting trait is at 30-kilometer top view, helicopter view, you think all markets are similar. Typically, people say its commonalities are Islam, football, and the language Arabic itself. But what you realize, there are so many nuances and each country is different. People forget this is a mixture of 10 to 12 different countries and not one country. And only when you look at it, the complexity is really coming real big, and then you find the challenges are unique from one market to another. For me, if I have to broadly classify, I would look at it as GCC as one market, and within GCC, Gulf Cooperative Council of 6 countries, Saudi is typically unique. And then you say, is UAE different than Saudi? The answer is yes, because it's got more expat population than the national population, and that makes it dramatically different. And then you come to Levant, you think Lebanon, Jordan, Syria are all equal. It is not. And then you think of North Africa as one broad outstroke of Egypt to all the way to Morocco, and you think, no way. So it is uniquely different. I think every market is challenging in its own way. Some markets there are talent issues. Some market there are new technology issues that really crop up in play. And in some places, however, you find that majority of these are the challenges from the client is simple. It's growing economies. It has got sometimes brakes applied on them. But I think the opportunities are huge, phenomenal. All the big multinational group of companies is looking at Africa as a marketplace, as the next frontier, after what they have seen in Latin America and China, which has taken off in a different way. And we as Mindshare want to focus in the North African as well as the Africa itself, and which is why Mindshare set up Sub-Saharan Africa recently, a year and a half ago. And we have South Africa as a very strong base. Now North Africa is the next litmus test in terms of how we want to propagate in a different way. Big part is yes, because if you look at it currently, we have only 2 offices in North Africa besides Egypt. One is Tunis and the other one is in Morocco. We had offices earlier in Algeria. Hopefully we return back into its place. We still have a question of Libya, an unexposed, untried marketplace. Hopefully that turns around, and suddenly you find just the sheer population of these markets are twice as big as GCC. And when you look at the GCC spends in the advertising terms, and you suddenly realize the potential that exists here. And what we want to do is to capitalize on the current Mindshare strength in Tunis as a marketplace, where we have over close to 40% market share in terms of among media agencies. We want to expand, and at the same time expansion not just in terms of dollar value, but in terms of what we bring on to the clients. How can we bring some of the global practices and learnings? How can we get a lot more in terms of digital and analytics into play? Therefore, we want to change the game dramatically. That's the plan. Our learnings have been very different in the sense, if we have been in the same marketplace for too long, you can be considered as the king of that particular country. But what we realize, that's not sufficient. More and more trans-border clients is coming in play. And we suddenly realize a person, if he has got a capability to know more markets, brings in a lot more strength and value to the Mindshare system than being one individual country-specific person. So from our perspective, we actively encourage people to go out, work in other offices, either short-term or even long-term, as much as 2 years, because we believe your mind opens up dramatically when you go and work in a new culture, new environment, new set of people. Values, ideas slightly change, and that makes you a tougher person to really manage the complexities. So we do actively encourage. In fact, one of the important things that we are working on is how we can build on this transfer system even bigger way. For example, we already have 2 Tunisians working in Saudi Arabia as well as in Dubai, in very senior roles, one as a finance director for Saudi, and one as the PR and marketing director for the entire Mena group. And we expect many more Tunisians to go out and raise the flag in a larger way. And why not the other way around as well? Why can't we get some additional other country people to come and work here? It will help the bigger team at large and give them a different exposure. And I think this is the only way one can integrate and make Mindshare a standard norm across the different countries that we have in the region. So I think the whole world and life goes in cycles, right? When I began for the first time in media, I was in an advertising agency, a full-fledged ad agency, where media was a part of the presentation when you do to the clients. And then the system changed whereby media became unbundled and became much bigger than what it is. And in fact, when I look at some of the media presentations that come out in terms of strategy and tech from even Tunisia, it doesn't resemble a media presentation anymore. It's got a lot of creativity, a lot of insights, a lot of technology, data, analytics that go in play. And you suddenly realize, what are we doing? Who are we competing with? Maybe I'm competing with our own creative agencies within the group. And to us, the answer is, we do what is right on the business, and we don't have to necessarily silo in our thinking. And therefore, one of Sir Martin Sorrell's simple vision is to say, how can we drive horizontality across marketplaces? So for example, when we handle Ford globally in several markets, we have something called a Ford Blue Hive. A Blue Hive is a dedicated unit that is mixed with media, creative agency, a digital agency, a PR, to an analytics. All of them come under one purview, under one head, and they do a great job. Similar thing for Colgate, a lot of other examples that exist now that's going our way. And our thinking is, we are seeing a kind of an implosion to the point, are we getting on to the creative field in a much bigger way in media? The answer is yes. Who would have thought the Tunisi Telecom, the beach idea that came around? Typically people think it should have been a creative idea, creative agency's idea in terms of how we activate and get things going, but it's a media agency's idea. And I think the reasoning is very simple. In a larger marketplace, the way we are seeing, the way market has evolved, ideas can come from anywhere. It's an open source. And we actively encourage. So we get ideas from creative agencies, we build on them. Sometimes we get ideas from within the teams. There are young kids out here who are doing amazing stuff in Tunis. And we want to make them really grow. And there are simple processes in which you can make it escalate. And this is what we are discussing. We have Invention Studio, and we want to see what role can it play in Tunis in a bigger way. And suddenly you find that tomorrow we might be producing a creative. Am I competing with the creative agencies? In a way, we are frenemies because there is role play is really no more defined. It's not isolated. There is a big merger and mixing that occurs, and let the best minds come out and do what is right on the business, which is the client's business, make them grow. Okay, I think our first bet is to not look at numbers per se. I think my first task, what I am looking at, is to raise the Mindshare product. Nick Emery always talks about everything begins and ends in media, and our principle of operating the work and planning is simply adaptive marketing. And I think if I bring in these two elements, which is when I say adaptive marketing, you are no more the old days of you do a plan for the year and you simply blindly follow it, not knowing what it does to the brand. Do you need to change something? Do you need to change the vehicle mix, especially with the rise of digital? So one of the important elements is how can we be more nimble, fast, quicker. Speed of delivery is important, and therefore you need data choices that you can make and rely upon very quickly. And we suddenly realize therefore data analytics become more critical in this era, and therefore to know every dollar that we spend, what does it do to my brand, what is the return, either in terms of brand awareness, mind awareness measures, and even to the sales. Why not? So econometric modeling is another big element that's come in play. And then we are looking, while we are looking at everything else, to say if I have to make a quick decision, I need data sources which I don't have. So if I look at research per se in this region, still lacks a little bit compared to every other marketplace. Question is therefore, what can our own research development in this region, proprietary research, can bring on, and the tools add value to the business. Suddenly you find of all the revenues that you get, our aim is to really stack up in such a way we deliver the right messaging at the right place for the clients, and we want to measure the return on marketing investment. Not just stop at doing a plan and delivering the GRP reach. We want to take the next step. In fact, with some of our clients, we have already completed the process. We have gone to the extent of even doing attribution modeling to figure out which media within digital space, which of the sites actually deliver what it is that is required, and how do we continuously optimize. So it's continuous optimization is the mantra now, rather than once a month you do a post-eval. Post-evals are history. So it's the real-time optimization that's become more critical. And we see much more evolving in this place.